Hi there, this is Josh from Literary Gladiators, and today I'm here with a book haul. This is going to be a haul of the books that I acquired during my 17th visit to the Book Garden in Cream Ridge, New Jersey. The Book Garden, I'm beginning to appreciate it more and more, especially since the books that you find there are generally more than 50% off. They're used, but they are in great condition, and you have no idea what you are going to find. It's just like Forrest Gump's box of chocolates. But always in a good way. I acquired 31 books this time around. And when I went, it was during the gardening sale where all gardening books were 50% off. And I did get gardening books for my mom. So the 31 books were books that I got for myself. And I got one gardening book of my own, or one that qualified for such. And that is The Tulip. The Story of a Flower That Has Made Men Mad by Anna Pavord. This was just... I like microhistories, and I thought that a book about the history of the tulip would be something worth acquiring. I got some books about the U.S. presidents. This one is Jefferson in Power by Claude G. Bowers. This is Andrew Jackson, the Border Captain by Marcus James. And this was released in 1933, so it's 90 years old. But the concentration to this particular book has to do with Andrew Jackson as Andrew Jackson in the military, and in particular during the War of 1812. Here is Who's Buried in Grant's Tomb? A Tour of Presidential Grave Sites by Brian Lamb. And this has to do with the deaths of presidents, as well as where they're buried. And then this is Reassessing the Presidency, The Rise of the Executive State and the Decline of Freedom, edited by John V. Denson. And this came out in 2001. So this has to do with the examination of different presidential administrations and how it started eating away at the freedoms that we were promised and entitled to as per the United States Constitution. Be interesting to learn more about the presidency, though I would argue that when you get beyond 2001, you really started to see freedoms being eaten away at. Next, I made my way through the poetry section, and I ended up acquiring 9 poetry magazines. This is the edition from February of 2010. This is May of 2010. September of 2010. October of 2010. December of 2010. November of 2011. January 2012, November of 2012, and December of 2016. Poetry magazine has been out since 1912, so it'd be nice to have a well-rounded collection. I am contemplating letting my literary magazine subscriptions end. I'm going to be taking a break, but I do have a lot of reading material that I have to get to as it is. And Poetry Magazine is probably the longest and greatest range as far as the magazine subscriptions are concerned. Here is Poetry Nation, the North American anthology of fusion poetry, edited by Reggie Cabico and Todd Swift. This is what is fusion poetry is an incorporation of poets of all different kinds. This came out in 1998, so this does include an Allen Ginsberg poem. This was right around the time that he passed. But you have a lot of other names. I don't recognize a lot of them, but I think that that's something that makes it all the more intriguing. That it'll introduce me to some unfamiliar poets. Here is modern Greek poetry. I incorporated this because I want to engage in some more. I want to have a diverse and eclectic smorgasbord as far as poets are concerned. And the Greek writers that we're most familiar with are the ancient Greek writers. Perhaps learning more about more modern day Greek writers would be worth examining. And here is Lives of the Poets, the story of 1,000 years of English and American poetry by Louis Untermeyer, who is a pioneering scholar as far as anthologizing American literature is concerned, as American literature, giving American writers scholarly identity and one that can be studied. This ranges from Geoffrey Chaucer up until Dylan Thomas. Next, I looked into the works about music and composers. I acquired 3 composer biographies. This is a biography on Giuseppe Verdi by Joseph Weichberg. This is simply titled Verdi. Johann Brahms, His Work and Personality by Hans Gall, translated from the German by Joseph Stein. I have the Jan Swafford biography on Brahms, so this is the second one, and I think it's a pretty valuable one. And it turns out that there's the Borzoi biography series has additional composers. There's one on Puccini, one on Bizet, Jean Sibelius. Richard Wagner's is 4 volumes. I may have seen that, but if I did, it was not something I wanted to invest in at the time. The Man Verdi, Chopin, Handel, and Tchaikovsky. So that would be something to look into. And perhaps you would see more of them here. but Brahms is known most for his lullabies. And then I got The Triumph of Tchaikovsky. This is a biography by John G. and Elliot Selby. On the topic of composers, one composer I really need to get into reading is Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart, because I just finished Amadeus. I'm going to be reviewing that sometime this week, and that was such a terrible play. And I got Legends of Country. This is put together by CMT, but in particular Liz Metcham and Chris Carroll. And it'd be nice to learn more about the country legends. I think it's very interesting the way that it's put together. I'm expanding on my Robert McCammon. I want to own as much as he has written, and this is the start of the Matthew Corbett series. This is part of Speaks the Nightbird, released in separate volumes. This is Volume 1, Judgment of the Witch, and this is Volume 2, Evil Unveiled. And they both have to do with witch hunting in the Carolinas during the 17th century. And then here is The Cheese and the Worms. This is a biography written by Carlo Ginzburg, translated by John and Anne Tedeschi. And this is a biography on Domenico Scandella. He did research on cosmology, and his beliefs proved to be heteric to society at the time, and it led to his slaying. Then I got some cookbooks and books about food. One of them that really caught my attention that I had to get is Italian cheese. This is 200 traditional types, and this was put together by Slow Food Editor. I'm really intrigued to have this, learn even more about the different kinds of Italian cheese and their part in the different areas of Italy. Here is Jacques Pepin's Complete Techniques. This is a hands-on piece about learning how to cook. Here's a section about folding napkins and the proper way to do so. This is making hollandaise sauce, and there's visuals that help give you a visual idea with the direction at hand as to how to practice that cooking method. And here is Civil War Cookbook. This is an interesting one because it combines history, food, and what kind of food was eaten during a particular period of time and in a particular place. Next, I got My Left Foot by Christy Brown. And I read an excerpt from here back in high school, but I want to read it in its entirety because this Christy Brown story was just remarkable, and what he had to go through with an extreme cerebral palsy and being able to write the letter A with his left foot for the very first time and how much joy it brought him. My left foot was also noteworthy for, I don't know if anything has changed, but for a period it was the only movie, and by that we're talking about the film adaptation now, that got an A+ rating in Entertainment Weekly. Movies achieved an A grade, but the film adaptation of My Left Foot, starring Daniel Day-Lewis, is the only film to get an A+ grade in Entertainment Weekly. I collect the books from the Noir series, and here is Berlin Noir. I'm also looking to acquire Newbery Medal winners and Newbery honors, and I also acquired some books that could potentially be Newbery Medal winners and Newbery honors. And I would like to make my way through them. This is The Egypt Game by Zilpha Keatley Snyder, which was an honor, I want to say it was 1968. And then here is Mrs. Frisbee and the Rats of NIMH by Robert C. O'Brien, which won the Newbery Medal. It also happened to win the Lewis Carroll Shelf Award. It was an ALA notable book and a Hornbook fanfare book. So it is pretty prized. That's what I acquired on my most recent visit to the book garden. And I'm sensing an 18th visit very soon. And I'm pretty sure that I'm going to come out with more books. And I'll definitely share what I got with you, and it's going to be exciting. I'm looking forward to it. Thank you for tuning into this video, and for now, keep reading.